Welcome to Get Serious. Thanks for your patience as we publish this one on a day delay here. I promise it was for a good reason. It was just heads down really since late last Friday, just trying to push through this this project here. So more to come on that. A lot to report here shortly. And also, first pod since Halloween trick-or-treating. I have a 3-year-old as of this next week roughly, and my wife and I weren't in town last year for trick-or-treating, but we were here this year, and I don't know if anybody else can relate here. When my wife and I were growing up, a lot of our trick-or-treating ages within the 1990s. I'm sure, similar before that, but like in the neighborhoods, we would go knock on doors to get the candy. I mean, there would be a handful of houses that would have the, bowls of candy that were outside. And, if you were polite and respectful, especially the smaller kids, you might take like 1 or 2 pieces. And I remember getting close to like the teenage years. I wouldn't. Those houses were kind of targets, and you just take as much as you can and leave none for anyone else here. So that was always kind of the risk of that strategy. But now, like, I was just so stunned how things have changed. I don't know if this is like a COVID thing, but like when we were around in our neighborhood in Austin here, there was no doorbell ringing. I think one family rang our doorbell, and we were too late to get to the door here. But when we were taking out our daughter for trick-or-treating, it was, and luckily it was like a nice day, right? October in Austin, some of the best time of year. And people were either outside, like they had little stations on their driveway where they would kind of give out candy. Some folks dressed up, most of them probably. Or, a number of the houses just had bowls of candy sitting out. Like that was just a new norm for trick-or-treating here. So I just bring this up as like a little anecdote because like it took me aback a little bit. It's like obviously easier once we got home, like we just put a bowl out there, and later in the night some teenagers just we saw in our front door cam like just stick the whole bowl. And so pays back what I did when I was younger too. But like I almost kind of wonder now, like this post-COVID world we live in here, where there's just almost like this permeating isolation. And we already know that like people are less social and less together time and so forth. But now even like trick-or-treating, it's like, okay, we're so avoidant for contact or maybe like perceived bothering of other folks even on this big holiday that like we're not even ringing doors anymore. It's like, I can't be bothered, just leave the candy outside and let people come and take it as they will here. And I'm like, I don't know when this changed. Like this is the first year that I've ever noticed that. Let me know in the comments or DM me or something, hey, if this has been going on for a while here. But I feel like this is a COVID thing. Like you'll notice like if service technicians come to your house too, or wherever your door, like they'll ring the doorbell and stand like 10 feet back or something. That was never the case when I was growing up. It's like, people just stand right there. It's just like one of those other shifts culturally where it's like, there's some pros to it. Like I don't need to get up and answer a door anymore, but it's like, we have even less contact with each other than we've already been trending to. So just like a quick little anecdote there. Hopefully you found that a little entertaining. The other thing I wanted to get into, so I wrote about this week that anticipated like killer commercial deal in North Carolina, anticipating closing on. Turns out it was another scam. I didn't get as deep into the process as the guy who brought witnesses to a U.S. embassy in Dubai, successfully pulling that off, but still got like the title company up to just the day before close, where they had their IDs, and like the title company we were working with was sophisticated operation. They handle like a lot of double, like all eyes open for scams, and they were noting, no like key red flags here at the moment, because what happened when we were anticipating closing was like the day before closing, the title company was like, no, we need to have like our, mobile notary service go out to your address. And they were kind of upset about that. They wanted to do their own mail away notary. And then, after that point in time, we weren't able to get a hold of the seller anymore. So, at first thought, yeah, potentially a bit more cold feet, seems to be sick. And then it turns out, so, we waited a few days here to see whether the seller was going to come back, lightly touching base. And then it turned out that the cell number we were in touch with, was disconnected, potentially blocked. And like, yeah, it could be, they're just blocking. They have, again, cold feet about pursuing this deal. And then we skip traced a couple other numbers. The title company tried reaching out to one. They couldn't get a hold of it. And so then I tried the numbers on my personal cell to see, okay, is this like a full block across everybody? So far the seller has no idea who I am yet. And like the main number was still disconnected. It's like, yeah, this seems like it's probably more of a scam here. And then based on the skip trace numbers, like I called on my personal line, which is still registered or still an area code from Illinois. And it seems the seller was based there. And I talked to the real seller and it's like, yeah, this, clearly a scam here. And, it's certainly disappointing. Fortunately, we didn't invest as many resources this time around as we had for that Florida deal. But still, we put in like significant time for due diligence, had a broker out there, et cetera. Like had all of our funds lined up, and it's still like, okay, we just dealt with one here. Like we get, again, money didn't get wired in, but it's still like, man, there's another scammer who's come to the fore with this too. And it's like, I'm sure some of you thinking, maybe like, yeah, why aren't you guys have like a better eye out for this and trying to catch it? And like, this was a concern, like right from the start, especially coming off that Florida one, like we started asking those questions right away. And we need like any lead that isn't a lead from mail, like we have to be concerned. So this one was from PPC. And so already I was like, okay, what info do we have about this person? Like, do we know their true address here? Like, do we have any understanding that they're confirmed that they're like at their county assigned address, that's associated with the property in question? And so like I had a lot of back and forth with the land investor who brought us this deal, and even like the name of this individual seemed to have like a South Asian type of name. So I was even asking about that. It sounded like they had an accent, and he's like, yeah, it was confirmed. And that's the risk of us too as a funder here, is it's like, yeah, I can have my antenna up for potential scam, but like since we're generally never directly dealing with the seller, like a lot of the info just has to be reported back to me, so I have to like be making a lot of assumptions and only taking the word for how the seller in question was like actually conveying things over to the land investor who sent us the deal. Like our antenna were definitely up earlier on, but again, they were, this seller was past, and like we had to move so quickly. It was like a risk of, yeah, we're going to do some upfront work here. If it ends up being a scam, yeah, it'll get like found out here too. But like we also have to plan for this being real, and we have enough evidence in place here to continue to move forward before things might come to light here. And again, like the title company we're working with does a lot of double closes, and like it was North Carolina, so they have attorney led title companies, and even the attorney was providing opinions on it. He's like, yeah, there haven't been immediate red flags here. The notarization address that we have here seems to be linked to the business address of the seller in question, which could be a bit unusual, but again, we're like deferring to the judgment of again, title companies probably have more antenna in the air than any of us, just because again they're the most liable, and they deal with this every single day, shuttling millions if not billions of dollars back and forth cumulatively. So, the fact that they were a bit more lax on that, made us think that, yeah, this could potentially just be a seller cold feet situation. Like that was more of my assumption at the time. And then it turned into more of like, oh, seems a bit more scam likely, though that scam question was like always in the back of my mind throughout this whole process. And again, like the The title company had the IDs as well too. Like I didn't personally inspect those now to go through because like that process had already been moving so quickly and moving forward. And, title company was just more confident and they weren't raising flags initially here. But now it's like, okay, this is now twice where we're just going to have to readjust our processes again to account for this risk. So yes, like we do have that ID check piece, which is like, it certainly helps to a certain extent, but like we also, when you have to move fast sometimes too, it's like, okay, always getting, the ID. Yeah, you want to get that now, whether the title company has it or not. But sometimes when you got to move with speed, it's like, okay, we still have to act on this even before like, waiting for the ID to be sent over to us. And even with that in mind, like we would just now be doing more skip tracing, a bit more background checking on the seller. Like, because when I was looking at the phone number sent to us, like it wasn't appearing on Google search, didn't seem to be associated with the seller, but like we weren't, deeper skip tracing like every, lead that was coming into us, especially one that was getting deeper into our DD cycle. So now that's just going to have to be a given. Like 2 times in a row here, especially for bigger properties, like, yeah, this is now like clearly becoming more of a trend and where we still have to like operate within some amount of ignorance because of our position as a funder, having a gap between us dealing with the seller. So we're just going to have even more protections in place since we have to bake in so many assumptions, and not having direct contact with that supposed seller is going to be its own weakness within our process here that we're just going to have to be able to overcome quicker in other ways. Again, fortunately, no money got wired. This one was easier to catch than the Florida one. Certainly they weren't as sophisticated, but still like they got deep into the title company's process where they put all the work forward, like got to the point of, getting notarization set up, and where the attorney for the title company still wasn't calling them out, even up until like the last day. So we had to uncover the scam and report it back to the title company before they uncovered it. So, that just tells you something. B, keep your eyes out for that. Disappointing again, but, it's really not that big of a loss. Like we learn our lessons, like the DD and the underwriting that we did on the deal. All of that still applies, right? Like again, volume negates luck. Like it just makes me a better underwriter. I understand the market even better now. Even if that doesn't come to fruition for profits for us, but it gives me more bullets to consider other deals that will be legitimate. Again, hopefully this helps. SeriousLand.capital for any of your funding needs. Hopefully non-scammer related, 50K minimum purchase price deals, and Land Daily Diligence Facebook group for review of your land deals. I'll be back on this Thursday for more here. Excited to see you all. Subscribe and share, everybody. Take care. Bye.